According to NBC News, as of April 2019, the total amount of student debt in the United States is $1.5 trillion due to 44 million Americans who have student loan debt.
Welcome to Educashional.
Educashional.
A podcast for college students by college students about the basics of finance and how to survive in a world where money controls our lives.
Hello, I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Madison.
And we're your hosts for today's episode of Educashional on student debt, graduating debt-free.
In today's episode, we will be diving into the causes of student debt, how to avoid falling into the loan crisis, and the best way to financially approach your education.
A college education is essential in order to survive in our economy today. However, due to student debt, we are being set up to lose before we even enter the workforce.
As community college students, we're looking to pursue our careers, but in order to do so, many end up falling victim to the million-dollar industry that is college.
So here's the big question. What are the best ways to avoid student debt to ensure that when we graduate, we will have little to no debt?
To help us answer the question, we've done some extensive research and we have two special guests with us today, a current UCLA student and a recent graduate from Sacramento State, both alumni of PCC.
So, let's get educated about getting an education. Main point 1. Loans.
First off, let's start with the most prominent issue, that students feel that they have to take out tens of thousands of dollars in loans just to be able to go to college. The fear of being buried beneath a ton of debt and never getting out leaves many feeling out of options when it comes to financing their education, since most don't have 30 grand just laying around the house.
The best way to tackle this problem is simply to avoid taking out large loans. Virtually all of them come with a high interest rate attached to it, making them nearly impossible to pay back. Even Barack Obama didn't finish paying his debt back until a few years before he became president.
Obviously, it would be ideal to be able to work, budget, and save for tuition, but when loans are unavoidable, the work smarter, not harder approach is the best. It all boils down to knowing your student loan like the back of your hand.
According to Sabrina Manville, co-founder of Admit, a company that helps families financially plan for college, the most important thing is to understand the full cost of a loan, which includes the interest, but also any upfront origination fees.
When I was planning on going to UCC, some of the financial aid options offered to me were loans with interest that didn't start accruing until 6 months after my graduation. In these types of cases, the best approach would be to pay off more than the minimum payments required each semester in order to decrease the total balance as much as possible after graduation.
Maya Brown, a 2019 grad from the University of Redlands, told us, "The price of going to a college I wanted is bittersweet. I wouldn't take back my decision to go where I went, but I am now in a position where I have to pay ridiculous amounts of debt back for 25 to 30 years of my life. It's something that greatly impacts where I decided to live or work. I think it's unfair that education is so much more based on where you can afford to go. I'm a recent grad and my main goal right now is to just pay off my loans as much as I can."
Maya is currently living in Vietnam due to her amount of debt, given that the living costs are drastically lower there than here in California.
She explains that 90% of the students that are there for the teaching program she is in choose to go to Vietnam due to their student debt as they attempt to pay it back.
Keep in mind that you don't have to always take out large amount in loans. Small loans for a few $1,000s are another great way of helping to make ends meet and are much easier to shoulder than full tuition coverage.
Business Insider advises in an article titled 17 Tips for Quickly Paying Down Student Loans that in order to successfully pay off a loan, you need to start paying as soon as possible. Many students wait until they graduate, and that's where the problem begins. Start paying way before the loan is due to get ahead of the interest.
Loans are not the enemy, but they aren't your friend either. The main thing is just to be educated. Know what you're signing up for and have a plan of action in order to minimize or completely eradicate debt by the time you graduate.
Main point 2. Scholarships and grants. Given the hefty price tag on a college education, Finding ways to try and earn money and save is important. Both Madison and I are currently working and going to school, but not all students can work, meaning that it's essential that students become educated on how to try and get free money. In other words, applying for scholarships and grants.
One of the most important ways to stay out of student debt is to be informed and aware of all the opportunities available to students. Not only are there literally thousands of scholarships and grants, there are internship and research opportunities that can pave a path to a job.
Here at PCC, there are numerous scholarships and grants available to students, as well as part-time jobs on campus. Don't be afraid to apply, because the worst thing that could happen is literally nothing. Don't defeat yourself before you even give yourself a chance.
We learned about a lot of new options when talking with Edgar, a current PCC student who recently graduated from Sacramento State with a degree in mechanical engineering and is also balancing 2 jobs.
I didn't have the money to get the support, so I would actually have to go out and get the money myself. So that means working on the side, just doing jobs. There's definitely a lot of scholarships. I know a lot of people that have the chance to actually go, to USC or, even Art Center. They being able to go to private schools, and they've been able to cover a lot of the tuition because of the scholarships. And you just gotta apply it. And one thing is that a lot of the programs like MESA, Pathways, there's a lot of money that goes here that's in PCC and that doesn't get distributed to students. I would just say that you need to get yourself informed, do the research.
For scholarships, you go to the search bar in the top right corner and look up scholarship. The first link that will pop up is PCC Foundation, which provides numerous scholarships for students to apply for.
Alicia Addy, a past PCC student and current UCLA student, told us about her experience with financial aid, grants, and scholarships.
So right now I do work study. That's definitely helping me a lot. This is my first job ever, and I didn't want to take out a job because I did want to focus on my education and on my academics, but unfortunately, since I can't afford the housing here in Westwood, I didn't have too much of a choice but to take my work study job. The first grant that I got was the Blue and Gold Opportunity Plan. That essentially pays for your tuition. All tuition is covered, and I believe that plan is for low-income students who show exemplary academic grades, and they also take into account your extracurriculars. My scholarship from speech and debate definitely helped. I didn't really proactively seek scholarships, and so I just applied to the organizations that I was active in. And so the 2 active organizations I was in PCC were AS and Speech and Debate. Unfortunately, AS had scholarships that I could apply for through the PCC flea market. And for Speech and Debate, they also had scholarships that I didn't necessarily have to apply for, but they usually have rotating scholarships for different students that show success throughout the year. Other grants also include the Cal Grant, which is just typical for each university, and other low-income plans that low-income students will receive just by filling out the FAFSA.
There are numerous jobs on campus ranging from library student worker positions to cashiers at the food stores on campus. Given PCC's location, there are also various fast food places and restaurants where students can apply for part-time jobs.
Overall, it's essential that you are proactive about saving and trying to gather money to pay for your education. It has become too common for postgraduates to be completely underwater in debt before they are even given a chance to try and find a job.
Take advantage of every possible opportunity available to you, whether that's in the form of scholarships, government-funded aid, internships, or research opportunities. Don't let free money slip through your fingers because you are unaware.
Main point 3, community college. Now, here's one thing that's costing students hundreds of thousands of dollars: the price tag on the name of a prestigious university. There's this idea that spending $50,000 a year in tuition at USC or an Ivy League is better than going to a community college and transferring or going to a Cal State.
Yeah, I don't know about your school, but at my high school, there was a huge stigma surrounding community college. So many kids thought that their efforts in high school would be all for nothing if they ended up coming here to PCC, and they literally spent thousands of dollars on test prep for the SATs and their AP classes, as well as on college applications.
It was exactly like that in my school, too. And the thing is, a lot of them didn't even get into their top choice schools and ended up settling for their backups just so they could say they were going to a 4 year straight out of high school, but now are unhappy and in debt.
I mean, I never considered PCC as an option before my situation changed, but I can honestly say that it's been one of the best decisions I've ever made.
I totally agree. PCC was definitely not on my list, but I'm the happiest I've been, and I'm saving, working, and getting my GEs done. My friend Alicia agrees with our point of view. She's currently at UCLA and came from PCC, and is a huge part of why I'm here now.
What is something you wish someone had told you with regards to money before starting college?
Go to community college. Right now, the governor just signed a 2-year free community college bill, and that's going to be huge for so many low-income families. The whole stigma of community college is honestly not worth the money that you're paying to go to university, where you're going to be transferring to the same or maybe even better university later on in 2 years.
I actually read on the PCC book sale page, someone posted a little discussion that said, people always mention the quality of PCC. After a quarter at UCLA, I hardly see a difference with professors and classes, so you're all getting a quality education. And there's a ton of comments like, I attend Cal Poly Pomona, and I can say that the professors at PCC are far better, and universities are overrated. I enjoyed my years at PCC so much. I wish you could get a bachelor's at PCC.
That's why more students need to be aware of the extreme benefits of going to a community college first. The whole mentality that you need to go to a high-ranking and prestigious university straight out of high school is completely false.
Exactly, especially if you plan on pursuing a master's degree. I was discussing this with my friend Edgar, who was at a Caltech panel, when he heard someone say this.
So when I was at this Caltech panel, so one of the students said that doesn't matter which degree you get, as long as the last degree you're getting is the best one.
Basically, if you already know you're going to get a master's, then don't blow the bank on your undergrad degree. He saved a lot of money by going to PCC than transferring to a state university. He's now toying with the idea of getting his master's in industrial engineering, and he basically has his choice of schools.
The key here is to think long term. It doesn't matter if you graduate a little bit after some of your peers, or don't go to a 4-year straight out of high school. You don't have to spend decades paying off tens of thousands in student debt.
So our 4 big takeaways here are: 1. Avoid loans at all costs, but in the situation where you need to take one out, know it like the back of your hand so you can make the best decision toward your future.
2. Use the resources that are available to you. Apply for scholarships, grants, and financial aid. Also, look into possibly getting a job while being in school to get a head start on saving.
3. Don't waste your money to avoid the stigma of community colleges. You'll end up in the same, if not a better university than you originally planned, and you'll save money.
4. Make sure the last degree you get is the one that counts. Don't pour money into your undergrad if you're going to have to pay even more for a master's degree.
Don't let money stop you from whatever you want to go. I remember when I was at PCC, one of the things I thinking over and over is like, oh, I cannot go here because I cannot afford it. So don't let that be an excuse to not go where you want to go.
Go to community college. The whole stigma of community college is honestly not worth the money that you're paying to go to university, where you're going to be transferring to the same or maybe even better university later on in 2 years.
Thank you so much for joining us today for another episode of Educashional to learn more about how to avoid student debt.
Tune into Educashional next week for another episode in our series of financial literacy. This is Stephanie
And Madison,
signing off.
Educashional is a production by College One students at Pasadena City College.